Hey developers, I thought it'd be useful to share just a general framework to help decide what activities are good to engage in and not engage in when you're learning to code, working on getting your first or second job in tech, things of that nature. Because as a beginner, it seems like there's just so much. And every guru or wannabe guru has a different path they want to send you down, a different course they want you to take, a different must-have certification, and it can be overwhelming. I totally understand that. So here's a general framework that I like to give people in my mentorship sessions. I shared this earlier today with Arit. So if you know Arit, the developer, she had one of her mentor, I guess it's called a mentor or coaching session. I joined and just shared a word or two. But here's the framework. Think about any activity you engage in as a beginner, as a new learner, as a future dev. Think of them like steps. This is how I like to think about them, which means you're not pursuing the steps for the sake of just the steps themselves. You're not pursuing them in a vacuum, but you have an eventual destination, right? That'll be the next floor. So you're on the ground floor. You're wanting to get to floor 2. Your floor 2 might be cloud engineer. Someone else's floor 2 might be full stack developer. Someone else's floor 2 is database administrator. Whatever the title is, that's your floor. And what you do is, for any activity that comes your way, crosses your path, gets suggested, right? Evaluate, does this particular activity help get me towards the next floor? Is it a step towards the next floor? In either title, department, or functionality, if it's a job role. Because one of the questions that came up this morning was how to know when to take maybe lateral roles or maybe take lesser roles. You know when to take them if you can determine at least from one of those 3 criteria, title, department, or functionality, it can lead you to the next floor. So if you're working somewhere, you get a job opportunity of a company you really, really love, but the exact job title that you want is not available. Does the title of the job that you can get help lead you to what you want, right? In terms of thinking about the SEO of your resume and of your LinkedIn, things of that nature, does it help move you in the right direction? Does it get you out of one industry and at least closer aligned to that industry? That would be a good step. Or is the department you're going to be working on one that supports continuing growth in education, promoting people up, and can get you to that next role? Or 3, does the functionality, does the things that you're going to actually be doing on a day-to-day, do those give you enough proof points in your technical brand that will make you a good candidate for that next step, for that next floor? If you can sign off on either one of those 3, then that job would be good to take. You can use the same approach for, again, coaching, for education. Should I do this cert? Hey, I am a nurse practitioner. I am a mechanic, whatever. I want to be a cloud engineer. And someone suggested ABC cert to me. All right. Well, does ABC cert fit in a step, like in a nice linear fashion? Can you see it as being a step towards the next role? If you can, that's a yes. If you can't, then that's a no. And that's an individual choice. So for some people coming from a completely zero tech background, they have a desire to be a technical engineer, a cloud engineer, let's say, and they've done their research. They see what cloud engineers do on a day-to-day, some of the variety of tasks. They're very interested in it. I'm not going to even say passionate, but they're very interested. And one person says, oh, you should take and start with the A plus and the security plus, or maybe the A plus and the network plus. And someone else says, absolutely not. Do not do those certifications. They're a waste of time. Well, the way you know which one is right is dependent upon you. If you have zero technical knowledge, like you don't know a CPU from a mechanical keyboard or some other comparison, then an A plus, network plus, security plus is a nice, I'm not going to say holy trinity, it's a nice trinity of certifications to give you a good IT fundamentals background. Particularly if you have no technical courses in college, no degree, maybe you didn't go to college at all, and you've been doing only non-technical things. Now, there is a time involved, there is cost involved, and though those certifications aren't going to sign you off automatically for being capable of being a cloud engineer, because first of all, none of those are cloud certs, but it gives you a background that when you do go for, hey, now I want to go for my AWS Cloud Prac, you have enough IT fundamentals that a lot of the things that you learn will make sense, which means it's a case-by-case basis to determine what is my next step, and then my next step, and then my next step. Goes for all courses, all tutorials, all certifications, even all coaching. Many of you know I'm offering paid coaching services these days. Most all of my coaching services are done for free because I always start people with a free discovery call to see what does the next step make sense for you? Like, what is the most sensible next step? Most times it's not more paid coaching or any paid coaching at all. Most times and I love calling my first call discovery, because most times people just need to do more digging to figure out what is it that they're going for. What is that next floor that ideally suits them? And I promise you one thing, it's not called tech, right? There is no role called, well, there are some, but for the most part, there's no next role called tech. So that's not your floor. You're not trying to break into tech, even though we use that phrase all the time. I've used that phrase. You're trying to acquire and land a certain role. What role makes sense to you? And then you backtrack and see what steps line up to that. What certs, what certifications, what courses, what tutorials, where do you need to go? How do you need to practice? How can I best demonstrate these skills? What is the communities like? What are the communities like? What are the steps? You start with the goal that you're interested in, and that tells you whether or not something that comes along your way makes sense to pursue. Hopefully that helps you out, saves you a lot of time and money. Till next time.